I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All the Mods 9, and today we get this madness set up, and well, we automate the Lilypad of Fertility to make it happen. Welcome back to All the Mods 9, and boy oh boy, today do we have some problems to solve. Last episode, we ended up getting this mystical agriculture farm set up for inferium seeds, and this took every last bit of my resources in order to make Lilypads of Fertility. And well, I need to make still more Lilypads of Fertility for each one of these pads. And that's going to be a lot. And I could even make this faster if I just had a few more Lilypads of Fertility. Now, I also want to get into crafting other types of seeds. And this is going to be incredibly important, as why would we set this whole thing up if we're not going to craft any other seeds? So today, that's right, we are going to figure out a way to make the Lilypads of Fertility and make them quite quickly. Now, these are the few items we're going to need from Reliquary in order to produce the Lilypads. These are the main things. So we need slime pearls, we need catalyzing glands, and we need rib bones. And these come from, well, creepers, skeletons, and slimes. Now, thankfully, in this pack, we can actually farm them with a mod that you would normally just farm regular mob drops from. And that is a mod I am very familiar with, and that is the Hostile Neural Networks mod. Yes, the mod where you essentially kill a few mobs, put them inside of a data model, and then you use AI to generate the mob drops. Yes, and so the predictions are actually kind of nice. We can farm reliquary drops by simply getting the predictions, and you actually get quite a few of them. And this is really nice because you would probably want to farm the reliquary drops instead of any of the other drops, because these can also give you the raw ingredients. So if I want to have access to very, very fast farms, we already have one problem solved. We just need to get this Lilypad problem solved. And I think we can do that with hostile neural networks. I think the only thing that would limit somebody from getting into this mod, by the way, would be power, as it is quite expensive power-wise for some of the mobs and some of the data models. But also it does require netherite. So you will have had to have farmed netherite at some point. Everything else is quite easy, including the fact that we've already automated obsidian, and that's another large part of this mod. Also, we do need clay because later on we're going to need the ability to make sure we keep clay, iron, and gold supplied to be able to produce the matrices, which is what we need to automate this. Now, speaking of automating, it's actually quite easy to do. So now that I have everything crafted up, let's go ahead and take a look at how this works. So I have the simulation chamber and the loot fabricator. The simulation chambers are what's going to use the model frameworks. Now, to get our first set of frameworks, this is actually kind of nice and very simple to do. We are going to need a skeleton, some creepers, and slimes. Slimes, we're going to do in a very special way, but first we need to go out on the hunt for skeletons and creepers. Now, it looks like there's a skeleton right over here, or a group of skeletons. So we should be able to simply right-click this onto them, and now we have a data model. And we can put that inside of the learner, and we have 3 more slots. So if we were to keep this in our inventory or put it in our offhand, we can see it in the top right. And the more of these we have, the more we will be able to see, of course. But notice, when I just killed that, it knocked the number down. So now we have 5 remaining. We have to kill at least 6 of these mobs in order for us to have a usable data model. And just like that, now it's set to basic. We have to do this for each of these mob types. Now, the creeper data models, they work exactly the same way. You simply just need to right-click them, and then we're farming creepers. I think the hard part about creepers, though, is just simply getting them to spawn. There we go. Creepers are done. Now we need to get onto slimes. Now, farming slimes, they're a little bit more difficult because they do require a very specific biome and a certain moon phase. Well, we can get around that, I think. And we're going to use the Gateways mod, the Gateway to Eternity, which adds some interesting things that I kind of want to get into later on, especially this one that apparently gives you dungeon loot rolls. This seems kind of powerful. And we could probably easily farm that later on. But there is one for the slimes, which, yeah, that's really powerful. So let's go ahead and take this, and we should be able to get a data model off of these slimes while also having sort of a semi-boss battle. So if I go ahead and activate this, this is going to start waves, and I don't even care at the moment if I finish this completely, but just by simply right-clicking this, notice that I now have a data model, and then we should be able to complete this data model by just running this this farm right here. It's literally just a farm for slimes. And there's another wave. This is wave 2. A little bit bigger. I wonder if it spawns like a massive one. These are really, really nice. Like, this is such a cool mod. Adding in like sort of boss waves, which is very reminiscent of the way that hostile neural networks used to be back when it was an entirely different mod in 1.12. There was a sort of wave of mobs that you would have to go through, and you could end up, oh, look at this. You could end up getting yourself some creative flight from this mod. But unfortunately, that's not a thing anymore, and is now in the version that it is. Wow, I can't believe there's more waves than this. It looks like there's even more waves about to start. What is... Holy smokes. It just keeps... There's just more and more. How many waves are there? It looks like there's maybe 2 more waves. Yep. The big slimes. These are the ones that are horrifying. Yep. This is not what I was ready for. My gear's going to end up breaking. Now, something to note with this thing, if you don't complete it in time, or you end up where you leave the arena, it will stop it. So that is something that can always take place. It does appear, though, we're about done. Ah, and when we complete it, we get like multiple loot rolls. Look at that, we got slime spawn eggs. That is ridiculous. Man, after that, we ended up with a self-aware data model, and my helmet literally has 3 durability left on it. So much loot come from that, though. Now, with these, I want to try something new. I've never really played around with the interface, but I wonder if I can automate this with just the interface from Refined Storage. No need for an importer and exporter. I can simply put an interface on the front and back of these, and that might actually work. So on this, it does look like we have our input, which I think will automatically extract out of the network. And we also have some upgrades. So crafting upgrades are going to be very important for these. As for the hostile neural networks mod, we need prediction matrices. So this is going to be the export out of the system, and we should be able to set the craft here, and that is going to make sure to auto craft them if we don't have any in the system. And then it should automatically also put it into the machine. So that's perfect. Now it should automatically pull anything out that can be pulled out. And then for the bottom here, we're going to want just the predictions that we are going to be receiving. For example, we need the skeleton prediction. And this should be, yes, we're going to pull out of our network. So this will be the skeleton prediction. We need the slime prediction to go in here, and then we also want the creeper prediction. So all of these going into the interface should work, and we should just be able to hook this directly in like so. And will this automatically work? I don't know. Let's go ahead and get our learners set up, and then we also need let's see, we also need our gates. So as soon as we get the gates put on here, that will be our power for the machines, because they all require quite a bit of power. And then inside here, I'm going to pull those out. We can put the slime one in this, which goes up in the top left slot. And we're going to see, is this going to automatically know to accept the prediction matrices? It does not. It looks like it still has to go to the top of the machine. Very interesting. Guess you learn something new every day. I know I typically try to automate these machines and make them look really nice, but some machines just need to be set up a very specific way. For example, they just have to be accessed from the top and the bottom for the export and import. Now, not to fret, because we still can use the interface, I think, in between the 2 machines, where this is still going to get a crafter card, and the export should still export only to the location that it can export at. So prediction matrix, let's go ahead and make sure those are put in. Make sure it's only sending 1. And is it going to try and send? it still doesn't look like it. Unlike this exporter, which should send it directly into this machine, just like that. Okay, so I'm guessing this is not going to work. We're gonna have to separate these one more block further. To be fair, hostile neural networks has always had this sort of, I would call it issue, but it's not really. It's just, it's sort of where I'm so used to other mods having configurable sides, where this one does not. So you do end up needing to separate your setup a lot more, or just have them all in one single line. So now with everything set up the way it should be, we can go ahead now and start to separate our predictions. And now I definitely want to cover these up, but there is one problem with refined storage when it comes to covering things up like this, is you still, even in this version, end up with weird lighting artifacts. I just don't understand this. This is where Applied Energistics just has this part beat. The facades just work. Now, once we start getting our predictions in, we're going to want to make sure to select them. That's how we can have multiple things going into one, is as soon as we have it selected, it'll always choose the one that we have selected, even when it switches different materials. Now, I think the only other thing to mention about hostile neural networks, which is, I mean, pretty straightforward, is the fact that it will increase its accuracy over time. So this basic, give it enough time, as it continues to process, will eventually make its way to self-aware, much like this one. In the higher its tier, well, the more likely you are to get an actual prediction, because it doesn't always give you one. So now while that is processing, I think it's time to start crafting other seeds and getting this all prepped up and ready for seed production. Now, to be able to craft seeds, we are going to need this multi-block setup. Now, thankfully, this multi-block setup kind of displays itself and is very easy to sort of see where to place everything. And as soon as we get this all ready to go, we just need to basically send this items, and then send it some other sort of items, right? And then it should craft, so long as we give it whatever base seed that it needs. Now, one thing to keep in mind is it does need a redstone signal in order to start the craft. That might be something that might be a little confusing at first, is if you go to place all the items in, you think you have it correct, and then you realize, oh, I didn't give it a redstone signal. So be sure to give it a redstone signal, but I do want to try and do something a little bit more creative with this. I want to allow this, as most recipes are going to follow a very simple format. Essence on one side, and then we're going to need four essence go on one side, and then 4 items go on the other. So with that idea, if we take a look at seeds, most of these seeds follow that format. It doesn't have to look just like this, but we should be able to use something like modular routers or some sort of pipe to automatically feed these items and distribute them equally. Now, this can be done very, very easily. So without choosing to separate the essences and just saying, I'm going to put the essences on this side, I'm going to put the items needed on this side, and I'm going to put the seed required in the middle, making this setup is very easy. All we need is some modular routers, like so. And then I just need distributor modules. And then if we open these up, we can see there's a couple of options. You can transfer out of router or transfer into router. And then we have the routing options, round robin being the one that we definitely want to make sure we use. So for this side, I'm just going to simply select 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. And I'm going to put that in. You don't have to do it in this order. I'm just choosing just for the looks to put it this way. And then the same thing goes on this, except I'm going to select the other set. And then that is going to go on this side. Now, the buffer is where we would put the items. So we would just open this up and we would just put the items inside the buffer slot. But if you wanted to make even more of them, we could set up some puller upgrades that could pull from inventories that go here. But for right now, I think we're pretty good. Now, to send the items to this, we need to send by shift right clicking on the top of the infusion altar. And then this one is going to send the seeds. And so that's going to go into the module slot. Now, this might be a little bit more complicated as to be able to pull from this, we are going to need to access this from the bottom side of the block. And I'm going to be using a puller upgrade, not an MK1. This cannot pull across a distance without being directly connected to the machine, but I can make it a MK2. Now, the Mark II will allow us to wirelessly do this. And that's why I'm using this mod, is because of the wireless capabilities. It just makes builds look a little bit nicer and cleaner. So now with that selected, whatever finishes the craft should end up over here. So much like if you put a hopper underneath there, which you can do, we shouldn't have to worry about any filtering or anything. It should just work. Now there's only one way to test this out, and that's by doing it. But first, what we can do is also make some camouflage upgrades. And these are just really nice, as we can make these look like anything. Like if we wanted to make it look like a slab, we should be able to make it look like a slab. It'll take on whatever it looks like. Now, I don't want it to be too much different than this, but I do want it to look like this block right here. And so if we put these inside the machine, they are going to disappear like this, which is kind of nice, but could be confusing if somebody walked up to your base and they didn't know these were modular routers. Now in the quest book, it makes this very nice to see. We can see all of the individual seeds that we're probably going to want to make. And we definitely want to get all of these base seeds if we can set up, like fire essence, earth essence, air, dirt, wood, stone. These are all going to be useful things and are going to allow us to sort of have infinite resources moving forward. So this is some of the first tier 1 seeds that we're going to have. And just to sort of test this out, let's place the logs in, and we should notice the logs going in. Of course, getting speed upgrades is going to make this a lot faster. Over here, we can get the essence pouring in, and these stands only hold one item at a time. So we should never really worry about it backing up or anything like that. And then in the middle, we just need seeds. All of these are going to require prosperity seeds, and I recommend getting prosperity set up to mine in your quarry. Otherwise, you're going to definitely run out before you know it. And there we go. We now have this process semi-automated, which is going to be very nice. Now our product should end up over here, right inside this, and there's our wooden seeds. Now this is going to be more helpful for bulk seed crafting. So whenever we want to make a bunch of seeds all at one go, this is where this is going to come into play. Now to make this a little bit more visually pleasing, I went ahead and put some barrels in here, and I'm going to say, for example, this one to pull ingredients from the right side, and then the next one, I'll have it pull ingredients from the left side, pulling from this barrel. And we'll make sure to put the modules in order because we want the module to do its operation from left to right, and it will continue to loop whatever this order is. And that's how a modular router kind of works. And then for this one, we'll actually pull from the back, and then that should pull anything into this slot here. Or sorry, this actually needs to be a pusher upgrade, doesn't it? So these are all pullers. We need to push MK1 because we want to push the output into a barrel, something that's easy to sort of see here. And actually cinder. There we go, a cinder module. And yeah, we already have some. So yes, this is going to send to the back, and then we should already actually see this happen when we put this in. We should see that send into the barrel. Now, if this works correctly, this should technically allow me to pull the items in because this buffer can only hold the certain amount of items. So I should be able to simply put all of our ingredients in, and it will pull it in order and craft all of the seeds consecutively. So in this case, it's made even more compact and more effective. Honestly, there's not much that modular routers can't do. It is such a phenomenal mod. So now with the seeds made, well, we can just go ahead and get all of our other setups ready to go. Now we just need to craft the Supremium Scythe. And we need auto crafting for that. And believe it or not, we're already at 234 Insanium, and that's with 0 AFK time. That's just from me working on this. Yeah, so this is building up incredibly fast. Before we know it, we're going to have more than we will ever need. But on this Insanium essence, we do want to set up crafts. Now that we can produce this top tier, before we hook everything into our refined storage system, we're going to want to set up auto crafts that are going to decraft. And that is how we're going to set up automation. We can upcraft, which is what we're doing, and then we're going to decraft. And I find it to be one of the most effective ways of doing this. So if we dive into, let's say we need a pattern first. We're just going to need a couple of patterns, and we just need to say, hey, go ahead and downcraft. And then, for example, down from Supremium, we can go through and we can say downcraft into Imperium, and so on and so forth. So we're just going to continue the downcraft, and that way we can just make sure we always keep a stock of Insanium, and that will allow us to downcraft to all of these different materials. So now with all 3 scythes, I think we are ready to rock and roll. So we just need to put these in here and get ourselves the advanced set up. And then we can start telling our new storage over here what items to hold. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the lily pads. And well, I went ahead and set up water areas underneath here that is a 9 by 9, which is going to fit perfect, as these lily pads of fertility, I believe, have a 9 by 9 by 9 range, which should easily cover all of this and also cover the outer edge here. So I just need to place them in, and it's just going to take time to build up enough to get these things really up and rolling. Now, just to sort of demonstrate how powerful this is, you can now see just with the amount that we currently have of lily pads under here, it is quite quick and is only going to get faster the more of them we put in here. And this is effectively going to be the way that we produce a ton of our items, as almost every resource in this pack is available in mystical agriculture. It's phenomenal. Now, what I'm thinking as far as these pads go that we have to be able to spawn in resources, what I'm thinking of is we put the necessities right here that aren't super important as far as how quickly they come in. And then over here, this is where we really start to fine tune and focus the things that we want. And then this one back here is really going to be the things that we need a ton of. So we can just lay down a whole bunch of materials. And then this one is really going to farm whatever we need incredibly fast. Now, instead of having void upgrades on all of these storages, which will take quite a bit, what we can actually do is set up a individual or a single trash can back here. And that may be kind of scary, right? Because we don't really want to trash items, but it's a just in case. And this is going to be really handy for servers, because if you have this setup going, it's very easy for you to accidentally make a mistake and items, thousands of items, are spewing everywhere. So a simple way to fix that is by setting up another priority, and let's make this quite low, right? We'll make this as low as possible. That way, if items build up in here and there's nowhere for them to go, it's going to try and send them into the storage. It's also going to try and send up to the top here, essence. If it can't do any of those, then its final task is going to try to send it to the trash can, in which it will succeed on that. But make sure that you have your item card set to a very low priority, where this will be one of the last things it tries to do. And with that, we should never have to worry about accidents. So we should never have to worry about any of our drawers filling up and causing a catastrophe, any seeds building up and causing a catastrophe. We shouldn't have to worry about any of that. It should just work smoothly. Now, with that said, it's time to start working on the other seeds. And really, this is where it's just sort of time consuming on my part, because watching me craft them, well, it's just requiring 4 of each individual item and then 1 essence or 4 essence of the increasing tiers. Oh, and something real quick that we can actually do, we can use Ender Pearls or Eyes of Ender on this, and we can expand this up to 27 slots. So yes, this will actually increase in size, which is something that we might need when we start adding more seeds and then we realize, oh, we don't have these. And we're also going to probably need to go back and forth and go, I need to pull this card out from time to time, because we don't want it voiding random stuff if we don't have room for it, right? That's definitely not what we want. Man, I gotta admit, this is so easy for setting up the seeds. Just this right here. Oh, how convenient is this? Just like that, we now have pretty much all of the tier 2 seeds done. Now on to the tier 3. I mean everything except for coral seeds. And the mob seeds, well, they require their own special endeavor. Now, when I go to start placing these in, this is where I was mentioning I'm going to need to pull this card temporarily. This is going to be something that I'm going to have to do each time I go to add new crops. So another quick tip, by the way, in order to get the ingredients real quick out for each one of the seeds. For example, I just click the infusion crafting and refined storage pulls it automatically into the crafting grid, which means I can just simply pull it out and I'm now ready to go. Like, this is really convenient. Now I'm currently crafting tier 5 as well. I've already made it pretty much through everything. And this one's actually really nice. That's uranite that's going through there. Oh, that's going to make it so nice. And just tons and tons of seeds that we now have that we get to lay out over here. And they're just going to be farmed. Now, I can't make all of the seeds, as a lot of these seeds have like block requirements. We're going to need blocks and blocks of the base material. So that is going to definitely be a challenge, something we're going to have to work towards. But for now, this is really nice just to have at least these seeds. Now, funny enough, through the quest rewards, we ended up getting some zombie seeds and blaze seeds. It looks like we got some extra seeds from other things as well. So now just to show you what this looks like when it is max accelerated, it looks a little bit like this. Yeah, it's quite ridiculous. I have the max speed upgrades in here, and everything's being pulled in. And then down here, we have all of the lily pads. I don't know if showing this breaks it. It does. But we do have the maximum amount of lily pads. We have 9 of them, or 9 by 9 filled with them. Of course, you could probably add more. Just don't think it's necessary. But yes, there's a lot going on. And the speed of which this is going required me to need to already upgrade this setup over here. So I now have all 9 of these upgraded with the cards, and I have 8 node overclockers allowing all of these to work, and they're all technically sending through 1 item card, which is all you need. And look at this. It is just so fast now, which is perfect. Completely able to keep up, and sometimes it still even floods the full inventory. But that's definitely what we're working with, and it is working flawlessly. Now, the last thing I needed to do was get some cables ran over here. So I find it best to simply place a waypoint right where you want to be, and then use that to get your tunnel set up. And so what I need to get hooked up to this is an external storage on the bottom. And then I want to make sure that with this external storage, we have it set up very specifically. I want this set up to extract only. That is it. And I'm going to set the priority higher for right now. And that means it should only ever be able to pull items out, but never put items or try to put items back into these drawers. So with all of this in place, oh boy, have we hit a milestone, I think, in the pack. So now we can see all of our essence in our storage and can now build autocrafts off of this alone. Oh, it's so nice. Now, just a little disclaimer, a setup like this behind me is not recommended for server play. You will regret doing this. It is not worth it. You'll completely cripple servers, and it just doesn't make it fun for everyone else. Now, being if you play on a server, this can be done a whole lot slower, so you may not even need half the things that are here, and if the server has the ability to allow chunk loading, then you're going to generate resources even when you're not online, unlike this being a single-player world. So that's just my hot take. Now with that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I feel like after today, now that we got some basic resources going, we can really start pushing towards some other mods. And well, I have just the plan, but you're gonna have to click that subscribe button, well, if you haven't already, if you want to be notified whenever I publish my next episode. So if you're excited and waiting, be sure to do that. We're getting very close to the 600,000 subscriber mark, if we haven't already hit it by this point. And guys, I can't do it without you. I really appreciate it. And well, now it's time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Cody. Thank you so much for your amazing support, by the way. That's also my name, Cody. If you didn't know, I haven't published all in my about pages though. But yes, thank you so much for supporting me over on Discord. And yeah, if you haven't joined already, join the Discord, discord.gg/ChosenArchitect, and join the amazing crew today. How I appreciate all of you guys. And well, without further ado, I thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And as always, yet again, thanks for watching. Bye.